Well, good evening, everybody. How are all my friends doing out there tonight? I'd like to welcome everyone to this week's edition of CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. This is episode number 19, and I'm Dennis, also known as Canoe Hound, and I'll be your host tonight. And you can bet your bottom dollar that you guys are going to enjoy tonight's show. We got a fantastic guest on slate, and yeah, we're going to be rocking it tonight, so it's going to be a good time. I hope everybody had a fantastic week, and I hope that you had the opportunity to get outdoors this past week. Not sure where you're all from, but where I'm from, the weather's been kind of iffy. It's not been much of a winter, but I've been making the best of it, and things have been pretty good. So CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show is a weekly live stream show that brings you closer to the great outdoors. The show is geared towards bringing you hot topics and interviews with YouTube creators and outdoor personalities that you enjoy and watch. We're live here every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we hope you'll join us every week, of course. And if you subscribe to Canoe Hound Adventures, make sure you hit that bell notification so that you'll be alerted to upcoming guests and upcoming shows, and you won't miss any of these. We cover a whole wide gamut, and you'll want to be part of them, and just have a good time, basically. You can also follow me on my Facebook page at CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show, and you'll be attuned to getting updates and alerts as to the show schedule. We try to bring somebody new on every week, and like I say, just have a good time with it all. Right now, if you have the opportunity, I'd appreciate it if you could try to share this out to any of your social media feeds, maybe your community tab on Facebook. Let's get a lot of company in here for our guest tonight because, like I said, our guest is a real entertainer, and most of you are probably here because you're familiar with them already, right? Let's see here. Just going through, I've got a lot of little things going on here that I got to make sure I get in before we get our guest on show. Thanks to those of you who stuck around with me. Last week we didn't have a show. Wifey said I had to go on holidays, and she took me down to Dominican, which was really nice. And now that I'm all refreshed and revitalized, it's showtime and time to get the ball on the road. So that's cool. For those of you in the Ontario area, you know that upcoming this weekend is the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show. Runs February 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. I personally will be at the show wandering around and meeting all kinds of people on the 22nd, which is a Saturday. If you happen to see me walking through the aisles, look for maybe a tan-colored Canoe Hound Adventures hat. That'll be me. Please come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you, get caught up with you, and, just spread a little cheer. Have a little bit of fun, right? As an added bonus tonight, we've actually got 2 pairs of tickets that we're going to be giving away for the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show. So if you happen to be one of the winners when we do our swag giveaway at around 8 o'clock, please make sure that you do let me know when you send me an email if you can actually use the tickets. Because if you can't use them because you're out of area, I'd like to get them in the hands of people that can actually use them. So hopefully whoever wins tonight, well, it doesn't matter to me who wins tonight, but whoever it is, hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of a couple of free tickets that are good either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the show. So make sure you take care of that. This past weekend, I posted my latest video, which was a rather nice surprise for me. My wife had planned a family day outing, of all places, at my day camp. It's the first time I've had a big group of people out there, and that was yesterday, and it was so much fun. It was a beautiful sunny day. The temperatures were just perfect. We had a little bit of a cookout, and the fact that we actually had, there was about 7 or 8 of us out there, and the day camp held up quite well for that. So that was rather cool, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mrs. Canoe Hound, for setting that up. It really warmed my heart to know that she wanted to get out there and try things out. So that's pretty cool stuff, too. And as you know, or may not know, because I see a lot of new names in the chat here right now, this show is fairly interactive. I love to hear feedback from everybody, whether it's in the comments or through Facebook on Messenger. I'd like to hear what you're thinking about the show. I'm always looking for suggestions for upcoming guests, hot topics as far as the outdoors are concerned. And if you have any ideas, drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. And I'll see what I could do to get your request set up for a future show. So please reach out. I don't mind that one bit. And just going to go through my chat list here. I just want to recognize a few people that I see in the chat here. Always like to do that before we get our guest in. I see our guest is in the green room down there already, so that's cool. We'll get him up here in a minute. I just want to welcome to the chat tonight, Adventures in the Heartland. We got Classic. We've got Backcountry Paddler. I love your logo, Backcountry Paddler. It looks similar to mine, kind of. Dog in a canoe and a portage, right? We got Brian J. We got Pray for Nate Nature Show. Mama Bear's Backpack. Oh my goodness. D's Outside Life. Another one there. We got Wild Man Outdoors. Somebody who will probably be popping into the chat or the panel later, Mr. Chris Gherkin. BSV. We got Wild Man Outdoors and a whole bunch more people. If I missed you, sorry, but we will get you all recognized. And one last thing before we introduce our guest. As I said, this is a very interactive show. And I want everybody to have an opportunity to ask our guest questions tonight. And if you do that, please put it in the chat on that side. And we'll make sure that we can try and get them questions across. All I ask you to do is please put the word question in capital letters so I recognize it as a question. And then put your question behind it. And if I do miss it, I apologize. I'm a one-man show here. I'm clicking all the buttons and shooting the whole interview here. So if I miss it, I apologize. But if it's an important question, please post it again. That's cool. I have no problem with that. And I usually fall behind on the chat as well. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. So without further ado, everybody's waiting to hear me stop my bantering and get into introducing our guest tonight. Tonight's guest is a popular YouTuber known for his hiking adventures and most notably his hammock camping skills. His vast knowledge of how to stay warm and comfortable in a hammock during all 4 seasons has helped his YouTube channel grow to nearly 550 videos. And get this, over 90,000 subscribers. That's got to be saying something for the kind of content that he actually has. His experience and training from the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College in Venice, Florida adds a comical flair in each and every video he produces. Please welcome everybody to the show, Shugemery. Hey,
oh,
Sean.
Am I too far away?
You look awesome.
I feel like I'm in the Yukon. Now I'm in the Northwest Territories. Now I'm in Nunavut. Man, let me get on up here in Ontario. Am I too close?
Is this there you close? Go.
Okay.
Hey. Hey, is it too early?
Early. No, never.
All right, how you doing, man?
Good to see you. That I'm an hour earlier than you, and this is perfect because then I can be in bed by 9:30. That's a dream. Not in my hammock, but in my regular bed.
So what the heck is Shug up to these days?
I'm always up to a lot of stuff because I'm a self-employed guy, and all my life I grew up. I'm a lazy underachiever but I got some drive. And what happened is, as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more drive. And I missed that lazy kid I was, who just didn't mind not getting things done. But, I'm always balancing. I'm my own boss. So I have to manage all these things I do. And but the thing is, I've created this perfect world of people always think I'm busier than I am. And they'll go, hey, man, we didn't call you. We thought you'd be busy or something. And I'm not really. I just sometimes don't want to be called. And it's a perfect way just to people think I'm busier than I am. And that's kind of my life. It's a life of practice, and the camping is a reward once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably don't get out as much as you wish you could, right?
Well, it's hit or miss depending on the time schedule. And, to be honest, sometimes even winter camping right now, you got to sit there and think sometimes going, okay, there's going to be a lot of work. Be a lot of work to get it together and pack for and get up there, and who's going to want to come with me, or do I go solo? What do I bring? What are the conditions? So even right now, we're going to get a little warming trend here after today. Up north, it's going to get up to up where I usually go, 39 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in your Celsius, but above freezing. But the next week it's going to get colder again. So I'm kind of looking at next week of like looking to go up to some Boundary Waters lakes and going out there and pulling the polk across a lake and getting to some of those sites. But I got to call up and find out what the ice conditions are and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, always thinking about one, but I just got off 3 weeks on the road doing work with a Canadian company out of Toronto called Metapack. And they hire me every year, and we go around and do these shows in the States, in Florida, in Texas, and Arizona. And we entertain Canadian snowbirds. And what they do is they sell travel insurance to them. So we do these shows in these big arenas with a lot of mainly famous Canadians, and I'm the token American. We have Miles Goodwin, who was in the band April Wine. He was on the tour this year, and Jimmy Flynn and Tom Leadbeater and Walter Ostenak and Crystal Gate. I don't know if any of these names are ringing a bell. The Leahy family, and
I know Walter Osnick.
Yeah, and Walter, you know, the accordion. Yeah, I love him. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
As all the Canadians are.
That's awesome. Do you ever perform in Canada?
I have.
Maybe up Toronto way, because I'd love to see you perform.
I did. I went up and did. As a matter of fact, one of the past presidents of this organization, the Canadian Snowbird Association, who are the people that wear the blue jackets and love bagpipes. And I went up and did a show for the OPP, for the Ontario Provincial Police. And that was quite a deal. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sitting there and, you know, it starts out with this big, you know, fife and drum thing. It was very solemn. They honor officers who have passed, and then the new commissioner comes out. And my job is to get up and avoid juggling as much as I can and kind of rip at them a little bit. Because, you know, police, they watch you like this. They put their feet up on the table and go, all right, let's see what this kid's got, you know. And they want to see you come at them with respect, but with a little bit of, you know, you got to come at them with a little bit of something. So that was the last show I did up there maybe 6 years ago, but really never that much, though. I just had a guy while I was doing this tour. He wants to get me at a fair in Calgary. So we'll see if that happens or not.
That's a little too far for me. I mentioned to you earlier there, people are going to be asking questions throughout the chat here, which is obviously very welcomed. Somebody's wanting to know where they can get some Shug swag. Where can they get some Shug swag?
I do sell stickers on my, there are stickers on my Teespring site. And Teespring, you know, what's great about that place is, again, me being a lazy guy, I don't have to do any work. You just order there and you can get this die cut sticker. But I do have these little round stickers that I sort of keep with me, but I don't sell them. I mail them to people, or people send me, you know, sometimes people send me a box of swag. They'll somehow find my address, and suddenly some food I talked about, usually candy bars, you know, coffee crisp bars, the Big Crunch, or just candy bars from around the world. And I usually write my little thank you on one of these stickers. So these I don't sell, but you can get a sticker on the Teespring, but it's not this sticker.
Actually, I believe right underneath isn't there a purchase shelf right underneath your videos there, and you can drag along there, right? So there's a good opportunity if anybody's after some cool swag from Shug.
Yeah, and you know, let me address this swag thing a second, because you as a YouTuber know if you start a channel and you're out there and you realize after a few years your face is out there, people find you, and I would have never thought about having a T-shirt or something until people ask you and go, "Hey, man, if you had a T-shirt or something, I would wear it." And you start hearing that, and then people come on going, "Me too," and then it's like going, maybe I should. And it is a little bit of this. I've been doing YouTube since 2008, and you've been doing it since 2012, 2011, something like that? Yeah.
Well, I started around 2013, but I only revamped the whole channel within the last year and a bit.
It's a mysterious little social experiment, and what happens as you stay in the game. You know, it's to me, it was the most fun when I first started and I didn't know anything about it. And you're just putting out videos going, "I don't know anything about YouTube." I had just asked my daughter once going, "Hey, honey, I shot this video of a hammock how-to, and I want to put it on hammock forums. How do I get that on there?" And she was like, "Dad, you got to open a YouTube account, upload your video there, and then put the link on." And that's where my whole thing started, was eventually people out there in YouTube land started watching my videos, and,
Yeah.
mostly nice comments. You get that really hurtful one once in a while. But YouTube does thicken your skin as far as just going, you can call me all the names you want or whatever, but I usually just say to people, I just feel like you're just taking your bad day out on me. I'm fine. I can take it. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. But, and eventually things like merchandise and stickers and branding and all that stuff comes in, because it almost becomes a little weird. I look at it like having a lawn mowing business. It's a little industry, and it's kind of my camping money I make on the side with that, really, or something. So I'm never quite sure what I think about it. But it's fun, and it's good to be out there, and I'm just always amazed at the kindness of people that watch this stuff and leave nice comments, or maybe have a chance to help them or inspire them to get out more. Oh, there's a question.
Sure. Yeah. Jacob Carl's asking, as you continue to hike, how do you see your trips progressing? Are there any places you're still wanting to go hike? And thanks for all your videos.
Thank you, Jacob Carl, the man with 2 first names. There are places I want to hike, but I'd like to go up to Oregon and hike in those woods. And me and Hickory, my buddy, we try to do a yearly trip. We're thinking about going up there or something. But for the most part, here in Minnesota, which is the Native American word for almost Manitoba. That's my little Canadian joke. I don't hear the laughter. Yeah, Canadians have the Canadian round of applause. Yeah, pretty good for an American. Okay, good.
Come on, let's see some clapping hands in the chat for Shug to.
So, boom, I got the Superior Hiking Trail and the Boundary Waters, and there's trails near me, and I just don't mind jumping in my car, driving 3 or 5 hours, and going up there. I'm just in the woods. I mean, really, I hate to say it, but I just like being in the woods. I don't really care what woods. But Jacob, I in time, I am starting to. I'm looking at some trails in Colorado, and just. Sometimes I see a YouTube video and see somebody hiking in a place where I go, that looks beautiful. I should go there sometime. But that's going to involve a little bit more planning of getting there, driving there, flying there, figuring it out. It was like when me and Hicks did the Vermont Long Trail. We did the northern section of that. And we both drove up there, and it was just a bit more planning. And that was fun, but so I just kind of waffled around on that answer. But yeah, there are places. I'd still like to see some places in California, but more Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and even in Florida. I'd like to go down there and do that Florida trail and just walk to them gators and palm trees.
Yeah, what the heck, right?
Yeah, why not?
That's the whole part of what you're doing there. You get to get out there and explore.
Get away from the troubles of the world. Let time slow down, and it is escapism. For me, it puts a perspective on time. An average day, if I do what I call a good day's hike, 12, 17 miles. If I'm really doing a trip where I need to put some miles in, or me and Hickory are trying to catch up and we do a 14-mile day, that was a good walk that day. Even though, you can walk really far sometimes, and your campsite is not any better than it was the night before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you do a little kind of lazy, I'm just going to walk 4 or 5 miles, and you come to a great campsite. It's just about being out there and playing with your gear. I'm not really trying to prove anything to myself. But sometimes on a personal level, in thinking about a trip coming up, I might say to myself, I want to crank some miles out on this trip for a 61-year-old man. Other times I'm going, I don't really care. I just want to go sleep 10 hours in my hammock in the woods.
And that's the best part of the hammock, eh? I too can sleep 10 hours in my hammock.
I do.
I can't do it in a tent.
And I can't either. And I don't do it here at home either in my Select Comfort bed.
Yeah.
I sleep 5 or 6 hours because the world starts coming in my head. I start thinking about my day and, whatever it may be. But just being out there in the woods and being nestled in that hammock and just, I don't know, fresh air, the cares of the world are off your shoulders. I don't know what it is, but I don't sleep in a hammock at home because I kind of like to save my hammock for what I call fun time. I like to keep it special.
Gosh, if I could hang my hammock in my bedroom, if the wife would let me,
Yeah.
in a heartbeat.
There may be a day my wife tells me, "Hey, why don't you just hang outside?"
No, a minute ago you mentioned hickory here, and a friend of mine here, Daniel Malot's asking if the Maple King wears a birch bark hat, then why is he a hickory brother?
All right,
and I've heard this question asked before.
We get it. Okay, here's the whole deal with the Maple King thing. Don't ever try to figure it out. It's just two old men pretending they're 12-year-old boys. Yeah. And Hickory is the combination. His last name is Hicks, and mine is Emery. So that's why we spell it Hickery. And it was a combination of our names. And we did that when we were kids, like 11 years old. We used to call ourselves the Hickory Brothers. And we always had that song, "My name's Sean, my name's Ken, and we're the Hickory Brothers." And we'd sing that all around our neighborhood. And we'd just see people roll their eyes at us. And we enjoyed that. It's just like, okay, they would never do that. We will do that. And they may roll their eyes at us, but we're going to sing that song. And so his hat has been, let's see, it's been birch bark. It's been oak, whatever he can find. That whole Maple King thing, he'll go, "Yeah, hey man, we got to shoot a Maple King bit." And I'm going, "Hey, that's on you. I'm just the director and the cameraman." And so we just talk about it the whole trip, but it actually came to be, he came up here and we were hiking up on the Snowbank Trail up in the Boundary Waters. And we had done kind of a short day, and we were at, I think it was Lake Asab site. And I'm not a drinker anymore. I haven't drank in 32 years now. I was a real bad alcoholic. You wouldn't want to be around me because I'd punch your dachshund. But Hicks likes his little nip of whiskey. He brings just enough to have a good shot. He mixes that up with some apple cider. He swears if he warms that apple cider, he can volatilize the esters, and that nice fat shot of whiskey goes in him better. And he gets a little nicer and chatty. And I was filming something, and he came over with this birch bark. He found a rotted out piece of birch, and it was just the bark, and slipped it on his head and came over going, "I'm the Maple King." And we had uncontrollable laughter, and it just started from there. So we always tell people, it has no point. There's nothing to it other than just us being stupid and silly. And as my daughter says, "Dad, I can't believe you embarrass yourself the way you do on YouTube." And I go, "Yeah, I know. It takes a certain man to press that publish button when you know you're going to be embarrassed sometime. But hey, it's part of it."
Yeah, it's all in the fun, right?
It is.
We've had a million questions coming in here. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep up with all these questions. So we're just going to pick random stuff there, and you could go crazy, man.
All right.
We'll let her go crazy. I like questions that come from left field here, right? And they're asking here, what's the worst mistake you've made on a hike where after it happened, you ask yourself, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, one of those was in my ultralight. It's my pre-hammock, pre-filming days. And, I like everybody went through my ultralight period, sleeping in a tarp, a bivvy, the weather's going to get down to 20. I'm bringing a 50-degree sleeping bag. I'm trying to eat spirulina. I'm not bringing any candy or any fun food. I'm doing sit-ups in the middle of the night. I'm waking up at 4 o'clock to build a fire and pace around like Midnight Express to get warm and going, yeah, I'm covering miles and I'm light, but I'm not having any fun. But I did prove to myself I could do it, and that was enough. And then in time, I started adding back some comforts. So I remember once just doing sit-ups and really just crunching myself in the morning going, I did not come to do cardio other than my hiking, that. And then just one time when I got lost gathering firewood, and I had just talked about it on a video I did about, I was talking about the wagon wheel, and I was just off in the woods gathering firewood, and I went to go back to camp, and I was going, wait a minute, where'd I come from? And just that thing where I was going, well, I'm a mighty camper. I'm Shug. I'll never get lost. And just when you think you got this down, Mother Nature goes, bam, and just cold cocks you. Just gives you a hockey shiver up against the wall and shows you, no, you're not in charge here. I, Mother Nature, am dictating this trip. Yeah. And that's about it. Every other trip has just been whatever happens, you put yourself out there. I choose to be out there. And it's not like anybody makes me go. So hope that answers that.
Okay, so aside from the hammock camping, okay, and the hiking, a lot of people probably don't have a good, maybe not have a good gist of your background. Tell us about your background. You have an entertainment background, obviously. We touched on that a little bit earlier, but what can you tell us about your performing days?
Yeah, came from being an extremely shy kid. And, I was one of those kids that no one ever believes it. But, I'm an introvert. I'm a spirited introvert, as people call me. But as an entertainer, you have to be able to project this extroverted side of yourself. If you ask me, most YouTube people I meet are introverts at heart because you're having this cyber connection with people. You're creating this little movie or video or whatever you call it, whether it's a gear review or a trip or whatever your bag is, and sort of having this kind of cyber exchange with people just with comments, and you don't have to be in the room with them. So a lot of these YouTubers I've met, I realized they're very introverted. Some are like their character on video. I pretty much am. Some are very quiet and then become this other person on video. So when I was about 7 years old, I was tired of, people asking me. My dad was a Navy chief, and we lived all around the world. And I'd be standing there staring at my feet, and people come over and go, "Hey, Chief Emery, is there something wrong with your son? He never says anything." And they'd go, "How are you, Sean?" And I'm going, I'm right here. You don't have to talk. And I got so sick of them interviewing me with the 20 questions. What's your favorite subject? Do you have a girlfriend? Probably not. Not with that style you got. And, do you ever talk? And I just decided to flip the switch. And I said, I'm so sick of being interviewed and people worrying about me. When I was young, I was trying to listen. Now I never listen. So I said, I'm going to start going up to adults and telling them, "Hi, I'm Chief Emery's son, Sean. My mom is Philomena. I like playing with slot car tracks. I enjoy reading little golden books." They go, yeah, son, fine. Move on. And I realized 3 pieces of information, the adults were done with me and moved me on. So I could go work the room. No one came over and said, "Chief, is your son, is there something wrong with him? He just stands here, mouth breathing." So I got sick of that. So I just flipped the script, and it kind of saved my life. And that sort of led me to entertainment, to just step up. I get a laugh, you get some applause. I played sports through high school, but every time I go on stage, it's scary because you got to go face people. You got to go, it's battle, man. It's, I've got a rotten stick. There's 600 of them. I got to go out and live through this thing. And in the end, we all have a fuzzy moment. And I just love that. And so when I was in college, I studied commercial art, and I started getting into performing, acting mainly. But I had this, rode a unicycle, and I really liked circus because it was physical, like a sport. I could practice my juggling at home. I rode unicycles. So I applied for Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey College in 1979. Very difficult process to get in. I was one of 5,000 people chosen out of 60. They chose 60, got to go to this 10-week clown college in 79, got selected for the show because out of that 60, maybe about 15 of us got selected to go be on the show, and then travel with Ringling Brothers on the road, living on a train for 3 years. And that's where I met my wife, Meg. And, we've been married 35 years now.
Congrats.
People stay together because you live on a train and work together every day. You're never apart. So you pretty much know what a person is all about.
That's awesome.
And so that just led to the career that I still do. It was just that thing of move to New York City when we left the circus. And it's just like, let me do this for another year. Let me do this for another year. And just keep that year going. And it's been a great life. I just look at it as a job. I'm a comedy. I'm not really a stand-up. I'm kind of I still call myself just a comedy juggler. But there's always been a market for that, and I work as much as I want, and paid off my house, and we put our kid through college, and she went to École des Arts to Quebec, up in Quebec, and went through 4 years of college there, Circus University, and then lived in Quebec for 6 years. And
wow.
So we have kind of a Canadian connection there. And
I'll be honest, I didn't even know college, like clown college or Circus University even existed, right? Well, I guess you got to hone your craft somewhere, right?
Clown college is done now, but I had gone to see the circus with my sister when I was a kid, and I had a program, And I kept it under my bed, I kept it under my mattress. Other boys kept other kind of magazines. I had a Ringling Brothers, and I'd get that thing out at night, and I'd look at that clown college application and look at these weird looking clowns and go, who are those people? What is that life like? I never thought about how much money you made. I wanted to know what the life was like. Sure. And it drew me. And for the first time in my life, boy, believe me, I disappointed a lot of family members, especially my mom, when I went, guess what, Mom? I got accepted to clown college. I'm going off, and her neck stretched. And I could have said to her, I just murdered 13 people and buried them under the house. And I would have gotten a better look from her. So it was like, even Hickory at the time, he'd go, hey, man, you might want to think about that. Do you even know what you're getting into? And I was like, I don't. But for the first time in my life, I'm excited to go see what this journey is. I have to go see it. I said, every other job that people told me I could do, I could kind of see what the end game was. I don't know what the end game is for a circus person. And you know what? This is it right here.
This is it. This is it.
This is the end game. So that's basically it. Yeah.
And that's a lot of insight. A lot of people probably don't know about Shug. Everybody sees maybe just the Shug, the hammock camper. But you are a performer, and to me, it really shines through in your videos, and that's why I love your videos, and why I look forward to the next Shug video coming out. And a little while ago, when you went that little duration without, I guess you had the shoulder surgery.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that
cup surgery.
Yep.
That's done great. My arm is really good now. I was really glad I had it done, but a lot of times when people see you on YouTube, they don't know, but the thing about video, they see what they see, and when people meet me, they often expect me to be that guy they see on video all the time, and I'm really not. That tapers off. And when I was getting into hammocks, I was doing some YouTube research to see what was out there about backpacking, and even before my lightweight stuff, and I watched a lot of things and kind of went, there were certain videos I just couldn't get through them. And I know some people are that way with me, but I think the most important thing is, if you're going to do videos, is be yourself. Don't try to be what you're not. And you just got to put yourself out there. Just like I was researching doing drywall. I redid my kitchen when I was recovering from the shoulder surgery. And I wanted to really improve my drywall techniques, because I was moving a lot of receptacles and building light switches and rewiring things and moving, and I wanted to float all that mud out real nice. So I started watching YouTube videos on it, and I'd watch one guy and go, nah, I don't like him. Nah, I don't like him. And I found a guy named Vancouver Carpenter, and his site is mainly about drywall, but about carpentry. I liked his style. He's got a Canadian funny sense of humor, little cheeky, but great info. And I learned a ton from him. So every morning I'd sit and watch his videos and learn something. And man, I'm really proud of my drywall. And just hopefully, like when people watch my hammock videos, because one of the reasons I got into doing them is I'd be on hammock forums and I'd see certain people posting, and they really be struggling with their hammock or their underquilts or their pads, or they'd never set a tarp, and they just couldn't seem to figure it out. And everybody learns differently. It was very intuitive for me. I'm a kind of guy that's just going to go get out and do it, do a little research, not too much because I'm lazy, but go get to it, and you will learn through failing, like everything. Other people like the written descriptions, and pictures, and some people are visual. They have to kind of see it on a video or you right there beside them. So I said, let me help these people out by doing some how-tos and stuff. And really, that was kind of the first bit. And then just be me, even though once in a while, I always remember at the very beginning, a guy was like, oh, well, Shug, I really liked your stuff if you didn't act like such a third grade teacher. And I said, I'm moving you to the back of the class, sir. Number one. And I'm sending you back to grade school. But it was like, I tried being serious and cut and dry, and it would just become a parody of itself, Mm-hmm. So, you just have to, if people ask me how to do YouTube videos, and I'll get people that will reach out, and, it's like I go, if you want 1,000 subscribers in 6 months, probably not going to happen in backpacking. It's going to take you a while to get there. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you have a forum or some kind of audience to get it to be on YouTube. and people do like infotainment, but be yourself. Look into the camera, find your style, live with it, but it's not going to happen in 6 months that you're going to. I see people start and stop all the time because I think they get disappointed that it doesn't take off the way they want. It's like, now you got to kind of hang in there 3 to 5 years and sort of be fairly consistent, keep it coming, and maybe or maybe not, but like hammock forums really helped me have another audience to kind of get there. Even though I didn't have any goals, I was just trying to do videos to play around and do some hammock info stuff.
And hence the 550 videos you now have on your channel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It keeps rolling, right?
It does keep rolling. You know, it's like it absolutely does. It's kind of amazing. I keep wondering when I'm going to stop doing it. Don't know. You know, we're really old man, just kind of going, I'm having a really good cup of tea.
Yeah.
I got hair and I got a nose hair that's this long. Let me see. Look how I can pull my eyebrow out. Look at the skin of my neck right there. You know, there'd probably be somebody that will watch that. Yeah, we need more neck tugging. So
I'm going to throw in one more question before we get into the real hammock talk. I know everybody's probably coming in to see you talk about hammock, but Kelly Camps is asking, he's just found out that you paint. Have you sold any? Do you hope to do that and build a reputation as an artist?
No, you know, it's been a goal of this year. I sort of every new year, I sort of really try to set a New Year's goal. You know, I figure, I know it's kind of corny, but I look at it as a time personally to sort of set myself on a path. And my wife and I this year, our goal was to care a little less about things, but not be apathetic. And by that, we mean, don't take everything so seriously. You know, I'm a guy that kind of lives with this sense of urgency inside me. I've always been that way. And, you know, I want to be on time. I'm hardly ever late, but I just want to kind of go, things don't matter that much. I'm 61 now. Do a good job, but let it kind of, don't worry about it. And through that, I was out there one day and, you know, I went to school for commercial art. All my work was really tight. It was doing logos and things. And in those days when you're young, it feels like everything has to be about your career and earning an income and having a living. At this age, I'm finally to a place where I'm just painting what I want to paint, you know, and just here's this, like, I'm going to do 12. Here's a hammock landscape right here. And one of my goals is to do 12 hammock scenes and maybe just do a little calendar. But really, it's not about that at all. It's just about, I'm going to do 40 pieces of art and do an art show. Because I have a friend who paints, and we've been to 2 of his shows now. And he was a guy that didn't do anything with his life. And then suddenly, out of the blue, he picked up a paintbrush, and it was almost like he's on a manic tear. And I've been to 2 of his shows, and I really like his art. But to me, what I was more impressed with in art, and this is my art statement, I think art can just be, for me and Meg, that's my wife, by the way, it's really hard to get us out of the house. We have created this perfect, wonderful environment. We don't like to leave home. Everything we have is here. We have a driveway, so the parking's great, a fire pit out back. So it's got to be theater or a show, or we're going to go to a Marty Stewart concert soon. But we went to the art show, and you go down, it's a couple of hours of looking at art. There's people walking around serving food on platters. There's drinks and nice lemonade. There's music playing. And I decided that I was more impressed by the volume of his work rather than the work. The fact that he did 40, 50 pieces, got them done, got them on the wall, priced them, had descriptions, advertised it, got people there. It was an event. We saw a lot of people we haven't seen in years, or people that recognized me from the state fair. There were 2 or 3 people go, "Hey, you're that hammock guy." I was like, "Well, maybe. Do you like him?" "Yeah, I love that guy. Shug." "Yes, then it's me." And I thought that's enough, just to art to be just someone come see something that you do. They don't have to love it. Just get them there to look at it. You know, they could be going, "Man, that's why would a guy paint a hammock?" I don't know. That's what I like. So I am painting, and it is also rehearsal for retirement, because I took a retirement course this year, find out about retirement, and I realized I'm going to have a lot of hours to kill.
Yeah. There seem to be a lot of people in the chat saying, "Don't stop, Shug, keep it up."
I'm not. I'm just taunting you. But I'm a guy. I always like to think. I like to have this dream that I could retire, but I probably won't. It's just like every gig I do, I pray it gets canceled. But then when I'm there, I love it. That's my Irish Catholic nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I just had a great question pop in my head and it fell out just as fast as it fell.
I kept talking and just killed it, didn't I? I do that to so many people. I was going to ask you something, but you just spoke for 13 minutes.
So how did Shug get a start with hammock camping? Like what was your first experience with that?
In that lightweight tear I was on, I went from having tarps and I got a Henry Shire's contrail, a little small one-person tent, and I was out camping in that and really enjoying it. Had kind of gone through the doing sit-ups in the middle of the night and had gone back up to where I was still very light, but I would bring a sleeping bag suitable to the weather. So if it was going to be 20 degrees, I'd bring a 20-degree bag rather than a 50-degree and have to warm myself, saving a few ounces. And I was laying in that contrail, and I like to wake up, and I woke up about 5 because I wake up kind of early in the tent. And what I really like is having my coffee in the morning laying in my sleeping bag. So I'm kind of got stuffed sacks jammed up under my arm, drinking my coffee. This arm is falling asleep with everything. And I'm just laying there trying to drink this coffee. And it's a little tent. And I just wasn't comfortable. And I was thinking, there's got to be a better way to have coffee in the morning where I can really, without having to get up and go out and sit by the fire pit on a cold stump. And I remember I had bought it once. It was a Lawson backpacking hammock. And I had used it a couple times, kind of a spreader bar, flat, not really a bridge hammock and not really a gathered end. Had spreader bars. I liked it. It was pretty heavy. And I got that back out when I got home and messed with it. And I went, this is fine, but I'm going to go buy an Eno. I went to RAI, bought an Eno, brought it home, played with it for 2 days, brought it back, returned it because I had found Just Jeff's site that showed how to make a gathered end hammock. And I made green bean and got out there and practiced drinking coffee and having a pap tap from the hammock. And I went, oh, this is it. I'm lounging. I'm in my sleeping bag. I'm laid back. It's morning. I got 2 more days in the woods. All I have to do is not die. I got the whole day ahead of me and I'm just enjoying my breakfast. And I'll enjoy that moment. And then if I got to get on the trail, then I get up when my morning constitutional starts to call after about 1 or 2 cups of Medaglia d'Oro instant espresso. Go take that morning poop, come back, start packing up, get it together, bada bing, bada boom, hit the trail. But I want that glory of that morning. And so it really was having a comfortable cup of coffee. That was the whole thing right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I say I always wanted to try the hammock, and once I tried the hammock, I'll never go back to a tent if I can help it.
Yeah, and
that whole comfort level.
I like it. I understand. I hope I never come off as a guy that makes like hammocks are the only way. It drives me crazy when some people are too like. I tell some of the new hammockers, just calm down, calm down. You don't need to tell everybody it's not a race. Because you're going to find out that it's going to take you a lot longer to hang your hammock sometimes when a tenter sees their site, boom, pops it down, throws their fly on, they're done, and you're still looking for proper trees or the trees the right spacing, or in my case, sometimes that perfect little place. I'm never satisfied with the first place I see. I want to look around and find somewhere special. And it's like, just enjoy it. You're either going to enjoy the hammock and the fiddly part, and it can be complex, and your personality may enjoy that, and other people go, I hate hammocks, they kill trees. And I'm going, well, look at that big muddy spot where your tent is sitting. We can have a quid pro quo fight all day about that. Yeah. Look what that woodpecker did to that tree. I'm using tree straps. God, come on, it's camping. Yeah. Look what lightning does to trees. Just look out through the woods and see how many trees are on the ground. I hug my trees before I hang on them. I swear I do. If you ever camp with me, I go up and I hug the tree and I ask for permission. And I go, I love you. Please don't fall on me. If you do fall, don't fall on me. Warn me so I can get my camera first. But I do thank my trees. And in the morning, I go, thank you for letting me hang. I appreciate it. I'm moving on. And so I'm glad not everybody uses hammocks, because to me, a perfect trip is when you got some tenters and hammockers together, Hammock folks can hang where they need to. The tenters can throw right down on the flat spots. And we're not all looking for the trees, and we're not all trying to clump our tents in one little flat place. So to each known on that.
That's what I love. That's what I love about the hammock. All my buddies go for the tent sites, and I go, I'm just going to hang over by that rock over there. You know what I mean? So they can have the flat spots.
It is complicated, and it's modular, and it's expensive, and people think it's going to be lighter, and it's not in the winter. No. It depends on the season and the day of the, so it's just, I'm comfortable. I can have a comfortable cup of coffee, and I can get 10 to 12 hours sleep. Enough said. That's me. Other people, fine. And that, that's what I love the philosophy of backpacking, because everybody should have their own groove. I'm not saying hike your own hike. Just do what you want to do and be respectful to the woods. And, if somebody tells you you're doing it wrong, I go, well, I'm out here sleeping in the woods. I don't see what's wrong. It's like I notice you do some bushcrafting. I'm just way too lazy. The minute I get an axe in my hand, I'm going to go, a squirrel's going to die today. So, we all have our way about doing it. And that's, canoers canoe, walkers walk,
Yeah. Do you have any canoeing experience at all, or are you just basically a hiker?
Nope. I did me and Strung Out and Alex did a trip. There's a trail up in the Boundary Waters out of Ely called the Sioux Hustler. And we looped that thing one time, and it's got really Emerald Lake, Hustler Lake. There's the Pontus Lake, the little Indian Sioux River goes up to it. And I said, Alex, Strung Out was going, Shug, we should do a canoe trip. You've never canoed. And I go, I never have, but I don't have a canoe. I can walk. So I said, if we do one, I'd like to see those lakes in the middle of there. And we did do a canoe trip, and I loved it. But my favorite part was doing I love the way you Canadians say it, portage. I was portaging, but you got I'm going to walk the portage. My favorite part was carrying that canoe by myself. I had some alone time. So one thing I was going, not a lot of shade on the lake. So the whole time I'm out on the water, I'm dying to be in the woods. And then sometimes when you're in the woods looking out over a lake, you go, sure would be nice to be on that water. It's like the Limble Gorge. If you're down by the river, you're going, sure would be nice to be at the top. And then when you're at the top looking down at the river, you go, sure would be nice to be down at the river. So I'm going to do it again. I actually have a canoe pack now instead of a backpack. And I just got to make the call and do it and go to an outfitter and get the stuff and go. But I just like walking while I still can.
Wow.
And if I'm canoeing, my legs, pushing against the side of the canoe and the wet feet, and kind of you go, okay, the paddling. I was the guy in the front. Was that the stern man?
Yeah, the bow paddler.
Bow paddler. I was just, and Strung Out's a really good steer. And Alex had a kayak, and I was just digging in. He kept going, you don't have to switch your paddle over every time. Just, and it was really cool. I learned a lot. I would totally do it again, but I approached the canoe trip like a backpacker, going, the only thing I want to do is cook some pancakes and bring some butter and some maple syrup, but I'm not going to bring coolers and a bunch of other stuff. Just going to keep it pure. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to portage 2 times. I only want to portage 81 time.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Dave at Beasley Ironworks there. He just threw me a super chat for $20, which any money that comes in through super chats will be going back out in prizing through all my live streams. So that's what that's going to be good for. Nice. Shug, I got a question here from somebody, from David, and I've been holding on to this one for a little bit. He's asking, how did you get the name Shug? Okay, so it seems on YouTube everybody has to have some kind of moniker, or when you go on a forum. But I like to pick bluegrass music, and playing my mandolin and going out and just picking with friends. I'm not a professional musician. Playing music to me is just like camping. I take it seriously. I practice a lot. You go get in a jam, the world goes away. You got 5, 6, 7 people just jamming. You're listening. You're in this moment. You're singing with a stranger, singing a high harmony on top of them, and you never even got this person's name yet. It's very intense. And we were down in Missouri at this bluegrass festival, and this is one of them no drinking, no cussing, no drugs festival. If something goes wrong, you go, golly jeepers. And we were singing a gospel song, and
it was thundering, and we were singing the song called Cry Holy Unto the Lord. And there was this little old man that was picking with us. And apparently he was a local fiddling hero. Little old man, you could see through his skin. And he would just hold his fiddle, and I'd look at him after singing a thing, and he would just play this sweet break. And I was singing the lead on it, and we finished the song, and he just looked up at me and said, "You sang that song like sugar." And me being a smart aleck, I went, "Hey, everybody, call me Shug." And everybody started calling me Shug. And that's where Shug came from, just because that old man went, "You sang that song like sugar." And it was such an honor having that guy playing with us, and then for him to say that and kind of a little nod of approval. So I like Shug because it's only 4 letters. So on Hammock forums, it's easy. Look, I'm holding up 3 fingers. That's how smart I'm not. I see some people have these really, Canoe Hound Adventures. That's pretty long. I'm way too lazy for all that. I'd be calling it CHA. I want 3 or 4 letters because I'm lazy. And Shug just fit, and that's where that came from. And
that's awesome.
I like being Shug because it's sort of like being El Kabong. It's just Shug gets to do a lot of fun stuff. Sean Emery has to go to work once in a while.
There you go. And we talked about that in the green room too.
Yeah.
I asked Sean Shug if he wanted me to call him Shug or Sean tonight. And he says, "We're playing tonight. It's Shug."
Yeah.
We're not working. So.
It's even weird when people call me Sean on YouTube. It's
yeah.
Like, oh, okay. That's weird. I'm Shug, aren't I? So it's just fun to have these dual personalities. I still have friends that find out, or people I work with that don't know anything about my YouTube thing. Because believe it or not, I don't go blabbing about it all the time. It just either comes up because, once you start telling people, well, I got a YouTube channel, and nobody goes, hey, what's the ULR on that? I'd love to check you out. Because they've seen me right there going, yeah, I think I've had enough of him. So I don't really mention it. And then when people find out, they go, you got this YouTube? What's this Hammock Camping? What is that about? Going, it's just a thing that started. And, you put yourself out there and you create these videos. And like we were talking in the green room, as you call it, the main reason I do videos now and bring this camera with me is what I was telling you. It starts to get addicting after a while to do a thing, but it's really looking at your trip through the camera. Whether I'm filming myself talking, which is my least favorite part. My favorite part is to film vistas, the mushrooms, a little piece of flapping bark, of wildflowers, the rain hitting the water in a beaver dam, just the trees blowing with the wind at the top. That's the stuff I enjoy looking at home. But having the camera, I have a motto. If I walk, I'll be walking on the trail and I'll pass something cool. Go, that was cool. I should have filmed that. I make myself stop if I say that. Get the camera out and go back and film it. And by filming it, I'm in there. I'm really close. I'm looking at it. I'm panning the camera around, getting down, which really lets me see this mushroom or whatever this thing is I'm filming. And then when I turn the camera off, I just kind of look around and go, it's what I call my regard moment. I'm just regarding where I am. And 80% of the time, it's not a destination point. It's not the edge of a cliff. It's not a river. It's not a big view. It's just in the woods. And it's a place that normally you wouldn't stop to go, sure is creepy here, but you're standing there filming this creepiness. And then it might be 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Occasionally I drop my pack and go, I'm just going to eat half a little bar here or something and just take a break here because it's a nice little place. Or I like those moments where you can hear the rain falling out in the forest, but it's not hitting you yet. The camera leads me to do that now rather than, I'm getting older. So inherently, I'm slowing down. I'm 61. I'm still pretty good for my age. But, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was just barreling down the trail without seeing it. It was all about getting that extra mile in. Mm-hmm. And that would be those days I'd put in big miles. And then at the end I go, wow, I walked all day for this lousy campsite. It never guaranteed at the end of a day you had this beautiful place, but you'd have to take into account going, I covered those miles and I don't remember a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst part. That's why I record all my trips now, is because it gives me something to go back and remember.
Well, in the editing process, you kind of get to relive it and go, wow.
Yep.
That's why I always film myself when I'm talking to the camera. I kind of keep my arm floating So I'm not trying to keep the camera still, but I rotate my body a lot. So I'm getting the woods around me. So when I edit, I can get home and maybe see what's happening behind me. A squirrel jumping, or always hoping maybe Bigfoot or something will stick his head out. You know.
Awesome.
Never know.
So, Kelly Camps is asking, do you record all your own music for your videos?
Oh, Kelly's very curious. Curious Kelly. I do. I always just lay down tracks of my own because that way they won't get muted by YouTube. And, you know, and when they mute the video, they mute the whole video. So I just play mandolin stuff, or it's just jams with my friends. And it's just, again, to me, it's a little way of making your video your own feel. You know, I like, there's some people that their whole video, it's, they may not, you know, they don't even talk. Or I'm kind of a talking guy. I'm almost like an MC out in the woods. Other people just do, it's very artsy. It's almost like a short film. And I know the groove they're in. They're very excited about their camera equipment and floating these shots, and very rarely put themselves in there. And, you know, people have their choice of, like, so whether you want to see a comedy, a drama, a horror movie, you know, an indie film. So we have a lot of choices out there, depending on the personality of the person, or the lack of personality and the skill of the person making that video.
For sure.
That's what's kind of cool about it.
Yeah. So let's now talk about a bit more about, obviously, hammock camping. That's what you're very well known for. Favorite piece of gear?
You know, my hiking poles. They're the unheralded champion of most of my trips. Is my hiking poles. And not only just because I'm getting older, but, you know, in flats, they can speed you down the trail for balance, for pushing up, you know, going up a hill. I put my hand on top of one and push up because my old knees now aren't what they used to be after football and circus. You know, I always tell the young guys, they're going, man, when you get 55 and I'm 61 now, it's just, you're not as supple as you used to be. You're like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. Oil me! Kind of got to loop it up. And I always just think those poles, that I use them to hold my tarp up. I mean, they get used for so much stuff. They could be a weapon if they need to be, you know, a little bit of safety. You know, you're charge like you're a knight on horseback. Use them as nunchucks. Chunk them. I always think of how much I love those. And I use Black Diamond Flick Lock, and I've had them for years, and they've never failed me. And, you know, it's too easy to say it's my hammock, but of course I love my hammock. And, you know, people call me a hammock expert, and I'm not. I'm just a guy that hammocks. And I just want to say this because I was on the trail this past spring, and I was at a campsite by myself, and these two guys came in and said, hey, man, Shug, you're Shug. Can we get a selfie? And they're taking a selfie with me. And I was, you know, of course, I'm always honored. Hey, man, how you guys doing? And they saw my hillbilly pot, my little pot that I was cooking sitting over there. And they looked at it and went, hey, man, there's hillbilly pot. Can we take a picture with it? And I said, you want me in it? Oh, no, just us in the pot. And I'm watching them take a selfie with this little pot. It has become a character through the power of video.
Yeah.
And I really went, you know, it's a powerful magic, this medium that you put out and people watch. You can influence people in a good way or a bad way with what you put out. I like to go, hopefully, I'm influencing, I'll meet men and women that are probably 45 or up going, I got back into camping because of you. And I go, because you looked at me and went, if that idiot can do it, I can do it. And they went, absolutely. I wasn't going to say that, but I'm glad you said it. And I go, it's not rocket science. It's just making the time to go and trusting yourself and being willing to learn. But so I always feel like a hammock amateur. It's just that every time I scour and see what people are struggling with at a time, and it might be under quilts, it might be pads, it might be suspension. Lately, there's so many choices. I try to address it, and it makes me rethink the issue so I can go out and kind of hang my stuff and think about it, and it just solidifies my hammock groove as well. Every time I do a video teaching, I learn stuff from it, or a commenter will say something I haven't thought of. So it's just a way of reaffirming yourself and going and studying up on it. Like, you know, oh, I got to teach the class tomorrow. I better bone up. And then so that I got my P's and Q's together when I'm out there.
Sure. I got a question here, and I've seen this come up a couple times. I apologize to everybody if I'm not getting to your questions. There's just so many people in the chat, and the conversation is so good that I just can't get everything up there. But I've seen a couple of people ask this. Other than the green bean, what's your favorite hammock for comfort and versatility?
I get asked that a lot. And, my hammocks are like my harem. I like to consider myself the Duke of the Doofs, the Lord of Lollygag, and I have a harem of hammocks. And most people have a harem of beautiful people that feed them grapes and fan them. I don't. I just have these sacks of cloth that sit in a bin, and they all mean something to me. And one of them at a time will speak to me. Lately, this past year, I was using the War Bonnet Eldorado a lot. Green bean was my favorite because I made it. But a lot of the hammocks I use now, I like equally. If they might even be more comfortable. Sorry, green bean. DIY gear you always feel very connected to because you made it with your own hands. So people ask me, why don't you do a video on making a tarp? I go, everything I made, I didn't know what I was doing. So I certainly wasn't going to film it because there was a lot of swearing and a lot of stuff getting thrown across the room and a lot of ripping scenes out and a lot of me just going, I'm in Loserville, but I would reset and learn by doing it. So I never filmed it because to do the two processes together was too much. I just needed to get the project done. Mm-hmm. But I really, comfort-wise, I really like the Dutchware Chameleon with that Hexon 1.6 is comfortable. I love my War Bonnet Eldorado and my that's particularly comfortable hammock 1.6 ripstop. So my favorites kind of sort of shift around a little bit. Just depends on my groove. And with that, sometimes I feel like you sort of, I hate to say this, but those of you that don't do videos, I'm just going to be transparent. After a while, you start to become a little bit in demand of your own video production and feel like, okay, I've used that hammock now for the last 3 videos. I need to switch it up so people have something else to see. And that forces me to do it sometimes, just because I'm thinking, well, if I use this Eldorado all the time, people will go, how come you never use this one anymore? They type in, or how come you never use your Cuban fiber tarp? And I love that people look and notice what you're using and what you're not using and ask questions to that. And often I don't have an answer going, I don't know, man. I just wanted to bring my own little tarp. So there's really no ever any particular reason. It's just feeling the groove in my bin of hammocks and grabbing one and going with it. And probably just because I took a nap in it that week out in my nut hut, and took a comfortable hour nap in it. My wife goes, you're panting and puffing and snoring. Get out of here. So I go out there and take a little nap and I go, oh yeah, I forgot how comfortable this hammock is. Let's go in the next trip.
There you go. So that leads to how many hammocks in the collection?
I don't know. I haven't counted them. And again, to be transparent about this, and I know people often, I try not to do too many gear reviews, and I've gone through periods of doing too much, and people, say, "Oh man, you're just being a shill for this or that." And I really thought about that, and I was going, no, because I turn down 95% of the stuff I get offered. I like to pick hammock stuff, particularly if I could say in defense of myself, the cottage vendors that you may never see their advertisements anywhere. A hammock gear underquilt or a War Bonnet hammock or something. You might not know that exists unless I show it. And some of the stuff I buy, and sometimes a box will just arrive in the mail. I had a box once just arrive in the mail from Jack's or Better, and it was a big Greylock 4 underquilt, and it just said, thanks, Shug, for what you do for the hammock community. And I was going to send it back, and I wrote to him, said, I can't accept it. They're going, please take it. And I said, well, okay. And so it's a mixed bag. And then sometimes I have a conversation like the Hammock Hammock, had a conversation with them online, and I was very curious to try their product, offered to buy it, and they said, no, we want to just send it to you. Please give us notes on it and all that. Mm-hmm. Then it becomes video fodder because I might use it. And if you see it in the video, I often try to sneak things in a video first so people start asking about it. Oh, I didn't even realize I had that. And so I try to keep it at a minimum, but if you're on YouTube, it comes up. The one thing that drives me crazy is sometimes someone will get in touch with you to use one of their products, and you think you're the only one doing it, and then you see 20 videos come out at the same time of the product.
Yeah.
Then I'm a little bit,
Yeah.
Oh, we got a question.
One more quickie question here, and then we're going to get to the giveaway, and then we're going to invite a couple of guests up onto the panel that I've sent links up to. One of two you may already have met or know, and the other is a fella that you mentioned earlier in the green room, and you'll get to see him in a bit. But so, do your hobbies come around in circles, or are you just a multitasker?
Yeah, here's my philosophy. I was just talking about this the other night. And I went through a year of therapy one time, because I'm an ex-drinker, and with my wife's family, she's got 8 sisters and 1 brother. So when you're a brother-in-law, you get a lot of this from people. You're just obsessed with your little things. Why don't you come and sit out here with us and listen to us complain instead of just doing your little thing? You're crazy. And I was always told I was crazy, and I was thinking, am I? So I went through a year of therapy and realized I'm not. Everybody else is. And when people say you're obsessed with something, obsession makes people cry. I'm very passionate about things. And sometimes passion makes people a little bit jealous. Going, well, you need to get a little passion yourself. Hope I can inspire you. Get into something. Get into it all the way. And it may hook with you or it may not. And in that conversation about all the things I like to do, at one point my therapist said, Sean, do you think you could trim off any of these things you do? I said, no, I can't, because I'm kind of an underachiever. In school, I was labeled as a gifted underachiever. And I remember going, I like the gifted part. The underachieving part, well, I don't know. Does it mean I'm gifted at underachieving? And my one teacher said, that's right, Sean. And he said, you're gifted in certain areas that we can't grade you on. You speak languages that we're not offering. And I go, I only speak a couple of lines of it, but that's from being a Navy kid traveling around the world. My dad would go, if we go, Magadagabe, if we're in the Philippines, if we speak Tagalog like the Filipino people, he said, before we know it, we're in their house eating with them. And that's the point of our journey, is to eat with the local people, not just eat with other Americans on the base, on the Navy base. So to get out of the safe world and get out and meet locals. And so I would get called to the office in high school about being an underachiever. And I said to my principal, Mr. Leger, I have a goal with my underachieving. I would rather be sort of fair to middling at a lot of things rather than really good at one thing, because my circle of friends are going to be wider and my interests will be wider. And it's just the way I am. And I sort of need that frustration. Juggling and clowning was always a constant because it became a job. It was a hobby that turned into a job. Everything else just sort of, it's just the way it is. I have a friend who's a juggler. He only hangs around jugglers. All he does is juggle. All he talks about is juggle. All he does is juggle. He's amazing. One of the world's best. Mm-hmm. But I don't mean this to sound bad, but I see his world as kind of small. Even though he's the best at it. Like I said, I'd rather be pretty good at something, be well-versed and do that. And that's just a character trait. So yeah, some of the hobbies kind of come in circles. And I also look at it as I get older. A backpacking trip takes 2, 3, 7, 8 days. If I go and fly control line planes, that's 4 or 5 hours of going out and flying intensely. It's very intense. There's some standing around time. And when you fly, it's on. Or putzing with them in my shop 3, 4 hours at a time. Practicing mandolin. Good 2 or 3 hours at a time. If I jam with my friends, about 5 hours of picking hard. It's intense. You're exhausted afterwards. So some hobbies, painting's at my own leisure. It's very alone. It's my own time. My juggling practice is my own time. So they all fit kind of a time schedule too. Backpacking takes a longer chunk of time. Plus there's all the time just messing with your gear at home and then editing videos, answering comments, being a good, steward to your own videos and go, I'll answer everybody. And even if it's not a question, I'll put Whoo buddy or something, because I see them as like anybody talking to me after a show. If they took the time to comment, say, enjoyed you, I'll say something.
Yeah. Very, very interesting fact there. That's one thing, people. And sorry, Sean, I'm probably making a lot of extra work for you. But this guy answers back to almost every single comment that he gets on a video, which I commend you for, because I haven't got a huge channel and I get a lot of comments, and it takes time. And I appreciate the fact that you take time out of your day to recognize people like that. So that's
in the morning with my coffee, I look for the questions first.
Yeah.
Someone asking an actual question, or something I missed in the video. Because when I first got into camping and was watching videos, I asked a couple of questions to people and they never answer me. And I'm going, I know they're looking at the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they just answer my question? And I said, I will never do that to anybody. If they're going to ask me something, it's my channel. And, you know, the great thing about a backpacking channel is it's manageable. You know, if I put out a video, there's sort of like a 2 or 3 day run, kind of busy. I just kind of start going through, and then I look for the comments that just go, enjoyed your video, or I recognize certain viewers that go, good to see you, and I just go, woo, buddy, or you know, just have a couple little tags just to go, I see you. I'm going to acknowledge you took time to type. I'll type back. Even my 10 or 11 haters, who I think just wait to thumb me down. I love the fact that they wait till I put a video out and thumb me down right away, because I feel like I'm bringing them enjoyment.
Yep. Some kind of pleasure, right?
They just like my life or me so much that they got to thumb me down. And you're not doing good in YouTube if you don't get a few thumbs down, because, you know, then you're just trying to please everybody. And, or if I get a mean comment, I've learned to never answer back too mean. I just usually say something like, I bet your fingers stink, which even sounds mean to me. But usually I go, I just feel like you don't love yourself very much and you're taking it out on me. And sometimes they take that comment off. They erase their comment because they might take a look at themselves. So I just figure it's just words.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're a little past the giveaway time. Every week on my show, I give away a bit of swag. I've got a couple super chats, which helps me be able to produce things like this and be able to send them out by mail. Thank you for anybody that's dropped a super chat. I don't ask for them. It's just something that if you do, thank you very much. It's appreciated, but it's not necessary.
But it's very nice.
Yes. So every week, this week, I'm giving away some Canoe Hound Adventures and Canoe Hound Outdoor Adventure decal packs, as well as probably I'll throw in a couple of sew-on patches, which I haven't got right handy here to show you, but I can guarantee I'll throw that in. And I believe Shug is adding something.
Yes, I would. I'm going to give you a choice. I want to give some swag, and I could, if you need a mug, a Shug mug, and here it says, "At the birdie boil,
Birdie boil."
Or I can send you a mug, or I'd be happy to send you a hat. That way we don't have to get size. It's just a Shug hat, trucker hat, mesh in the back, so everybody can get a little wind on you. And I'd be happy to send you that, and you can give your address to Canoe Hound, and I'll send it to you straight from Teespring, if you like.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much for adding to that. So Shug and I talked in the green room, and I think what we're going to do is I got a question, and I've got a couple numbers selected on this notepad. And what I need to know is, what is Shug's favorite kind of Pop-Tart?
I know that one.
Put it in the chat, and the ones that match the numbers I got here will win the prize. So what's Shug's favorite kind of Pop-Tart? We're going according to my chat, not yours, okay? So
what is it with Pop-Tarts in the woods? You know, it's like I never eat a Pop-Tart at home, ever. I was saying once in a blue moon, I'm having I've been off sugar since New Year's. You know, I'm a guy that goes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And I was just craving some sugar one time, you know, go get a Pop-Tart, put it in the toaster oven for 10 seconds, have it and go, I don't know. It's just not as good at home, you know?
Yeah.
But in the woods.
I asked Shug too if he had any Pop-Tarts handy, and I thought we could do a Pop-Tart toast. But he said he doesn't eat those things at home.
I do have my Pop-Tarts out in my nut hut. I keep a stash out there, you know.
Okay, just give me 1 sec because I'm counting here. That's 4, that's 5, that's 6, that's 7.
This is exciting.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. There we go.
All right.
14.
Sorry, I'm seizing up a little bit.
So these are numbers that were picked before. I didn't just write them down. So we got the 3rd person and the 14th person, who is Dave Moose and Broseph Russell. And I know Broseph is somebody I follow on Instagram. So I'm going to drop my email address onto the screen right now. And if you can drop me an email with your full mailing address, and obviously both of you are going to get 2 packages. One's going to be coming from myself, and then I will forward your information on to Shug, and he'll send you his end of the prize. So congratulations, guys. It's much appreciated that you've attended the show tonight. And
so who figured out which one was my Pop-Tarts?
The peanut butter.
Yeah, did he say peanut butter?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? I think we still got peanut butter coming across the screen here.
Was that Broseph?
Yes.
Yo, what's up, Broseph? Way to go.
Well, actually, all of them. Dave Moose as well. So they've all said, but that's what we got. Dave Moose and Broseph Russell.
And let him know if you want a mug or a hat.
Okay. Well, tell me if you want a mug or a hat from Shug, and I'll get that over to him as well. So CANOEHOUND@gmail.com. Send me your contact information. And if either one of you two also are from the Toronto area and plan on attending the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show this coming weekend, let me know in the email as well, because I have 2 passes for you. If not, let me know that you can't use them, and I'll make sure that they get into the hands of some people that can. So that brings us on to the next part of the show. This is what I call overtime, Shug. Basically, this is where I've invited a couple of guests up. I'll bring them up on panel, and we'll have a little chit chat going, and maybe I'll try to get a couple of other couple other fans in. So let's go here. We're going to go this kind of screen.
Oh, I know Mr. Pickle.
Have you ever met Chris?
Oh, yeah, we camped together this year.
Yeah,
what's going on, bro?
That, so I thought Chris was a guest on the show probably a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and there's Sky. I've seen him. That's the guy that gives me beard envy.
There you go. Yes, and I had to have Sky. Sky's a regular on my show.
That thing. Woo!
Yeah, Sky's a good friend on my show, and we're supporters of each other, obviously.
I saw him in Sky, you were right there live. So I was watching, I boned up and watched a few of Canoe Hound live streams because I don't know anything about them. And I saw you on there with your mic and everything. And I was going, cool, man. That's how it works.
That's how it works when I'm not in the woods.
Yeah, you were talking about pack rafts or something with with Pine Martin or Martin Pine or whatever.
Sure.
And actually, Martin Pine, he sent me a messenger or a Facebook Messenger message, Shug, saying that he apologized. He really wanted to watch because he's a hammock camper as well.
Yeah, I know that.
And he really wanted to watch, but he'll catch up. He's gotten to be a good friend here on YouTube.
I know the people that go, yeah, I got a call. I'll talk to you later. I'm sorry, my house is on fire.
I'm
well aware of that move.
It was really tough for me to get up here with Shug because, I'm only 2 years older than he is.
Here we go. Once again, 3 old guys and one slightly younger fella.
So well, man, oh man. If I had Shug's energy, I'd feel a lot better. He talked about slowing down. This old boy's stuck in about second gear. And I pull over quite often. The clutch slips a bit in my old rig, what's left of it. But I used to have a wilderness skills camp, Shug, and for 4 years I ran a wilderness skills camp, and I'd take my clients out, and it drove them nuts at the first time they go out, the 2-hour mile.
Oh yes.
And oh man. At first, they're just like, what? Are you kidding? You're going to make us spend 2 hours just hiking 1 mile? I said, you betcha I am. And they each got a notebook. And I said, I want to know everything about that mile when you get to the end. And I'd have them do it twice during camp. And it would be the day before the end day of camp that they do the second round. And their notebooks would be just packed full of notes. The first time out, they might have 1 or 2 pages, but by the second round they do it, man, they come back, their notebooks are just packed full of everything they saw in that mile. And then they said, I never realized how much interest there is in just 1 mile. Yeah. Because they did what you were saying, point A to point B. And they get to point B and they go, this is kind of disappointing out here. Well, you should have seen what you missed.
Right, it's all the stuff in between, isn't it?
Yeah. The beauty's in the voyage, not the destination.
I do feel that comes a little easier as you get older. Like a lot of things, maybe the pace slows down just a little bit, and it's like me when I'm out there thinking, going, how many more good years do I have to live? Or,
I look for a nice tree to lean against.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then he hugs it.
I'll sit on that mossy rock.
Listening to birds and going, I wish I knew what kind of bird that was, but I don't even know what kind of tree this is I'm leaning on. This is how much I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I'll find out what the tree is and maybe ask some bird, or, you can go on a site and listen to the birds and go, oh, that was,
I'm working on a video series that I'm going to probably start within a few months that concentrates really on what the outdoors, the effect it has upon us, and everything we miss. People say, "Oh, it's like this scenery behind me. That's beautiful, ain't it?"
Yeah.
And they say, "A picture's worth 1,000 words." All you've got, the only sense you're using right now is your eyes, the sense of sight.
Yeah.
Everything else has to be imagined. Everything you see in this picture, you have to use your imagination. It's all in your imagination. You're just seeing the darn picture. Mm-hmm. If you get out there, now there's movement. Now you're seeing motion. Now you're hearing birds sing, and you're hearing the wind in the tops of the trees. You're smelling the pines and the earthy smell of the forest floor. All of a sudden you're using your touch. Oh man, kick the boots and socks off and walk in that little river there. Wouldn't that be sweet on a hot summer day? All of those experiences. Now that picture, guess what? It's worth 1,000,000 words.
The sound of your growling stomach waking you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Thinking it's a
and
bear
all of the meals that you can imagine, right? Yeah, all of a sudden steak and eggs for breakfast. Yeah, and that's it. Is so many of us miss so much of the experience, And canoe, I tell you, Dennis and his paddling, he gets out there, and I can just tell by the look on his face, man, he's soaking it all in. He's just like, I love it here. You gotta love it.
Stop my head from going side to side. I
want to address this question. Somebody said they'd love to see me on a canoe trip. I have a video of me and Strung Out and Alex on a canoe trip in the Boundary Water.
Actually, I put this on the screen though, Shug, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Casey Happy Camper. He's a rather popular, he's like a canoeing icon in Canada, Kevin Callan. Oh, and he's quite the character. I would love to see this collab take place. Shug and Kevin on a canoe trip.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
With some hiking mixed in.
And Shug, Emerald Lake, I caught a 42-inch pike out of that lake.
Was that
I tell you, my whole youth, all the way until I was about 21, every single year we were in Boundary Waters.
Oh, you're talking about the one right in the middle of the Sioux Hustler Trail.
Yes.
Yeah, we found that good jumping off rock there and everything. That's
yeah.
I
caught a 42-inch pike.
Yeah, that's a great lake. I love that.
I remember my dad screaming, cut your line, we're in a canoe."
So Chris is pretty quiet down here. So Chris, you said you and Shug seen each other at a hang this year?
Yep. Met him down at the Time Change Fallback Hang down in my neck of the woods in the Carolinas at Yates Place. And
you is Yates.
I is Yates. You is Yates. We are all Yates.
Little North Carolina hang down there. Boy, I tell you what, a lot of boys with their big trucks and people spitting tobacco and whatnot. It was eating liver mush, having a good time, licking their fingers, getting that barbecue off of them. And I grew up in North Carolina, and it was a kind of a trip home, and got to meet Chris down there, and we got a little chance to go hit the woods for a night or two after. And
really, you ain't never had a cup of coffee until you've had a cup of coffee with a piece of cheddar cheese dropped in it.
Sharp cheddar. That's what my grandpa used to give me that. And we were all having that.
Is that by accident? Or
no, that's by purpose.
My grandfather used to send me up. I'd go stay with him down in Emery, South Carolina, where all my family that worked in the mill down there, the mill people get the 4th of July off, and that's when they go to the beach. and I'd go sit with Pa, and he'd give me a little, you know, those little change purses you get out. They were rubber, and you pinch them, and he'd get some little coins out, and he'd send me up to the store, up the Hanner store, to go get some hoop cheese, which is a sharp cheddar.
It's a really sharp cheddar. Yep.
Walk up through the woods. It'd be like 5 a.m. It'd still be dark. And I remember it's kind of one of my first experiences walking in the woods in the dark. Now, I'm kind of a little bit scared, but then I finally got into it. And you walk up through the woods and kind of come out into a cemetery, go to the store, get the cheese, bring it back. Pa would make me a cup of coffee. And you put a piece of sharp cheddar cheese about as big as the end of your thumb, like your thumbnail, drop that down in there. You know, put your milk and sugar if you want. And when you get to the end, you got this coffee-infused, soft glob of cheese that you just go, it just drops into your throat. And so,
yeah, Kelly, it's really a thing.
That out there at camp, you know,
it sounds disgusting, but it really is pretty tasty.
It does sound the best.
So,
yeah,
Sty, I wanted to make a comment. Yesterday I did a mile in just over an hour. And it wasn't because I was trying to slow down. It was because a buddy of mine in Shug's, Mr. Kenny Ray, decided to take me down to Daffodil Flats. And I made it out unnamed in about just over an hour. So I think Shug knows the LGT, the pinch into LGT to unnamed.
You really wanted to get back to the car, didn't you? If you made it in an hour, you must have had a cold beer or some milk or a milkshake or something in there, like a Little Debbie oatmeal cake.
We did that added boost. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the loop came out to just over 8 miles, and from going into the gorge down the pinch-in trail, if I'm wrong, tell me. But it's about a 1,700-foot drop in just over a mile and a third.
It's steep. I mean, these days going down, it's harder than going up it.
Yeah. And then coming out unnamed, it was 1,400 foot climb and right at a mile.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because we were taking our time. It was because
I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived for 4 years in northwestern Montana in the Cabinet Wilderness area.
Yep.
And I took my family off grid for 1 full year right into the Cabinet Wilderness. And there was my favorite lake. Yeah, it was about a 1,600 foot in, you look at it was at least 1,600 feet from camp to the top, where this beautiful mountain lake was, with the best cutthroat trout you ever seen. And all you did was dream about shore lunch as you pounded it up that stinking mountain. And you're looking at those switchbacks. And one time I said, I'm not doing the switchback. I'm taking a straight line up that bugger.
Oh, this didn't have any
switchbacks.
Switchbacks are about 3 steps.
Yeah, I figured that there's a reason why there's switchbacks. I mean, yeah, you don't want to take that incline straight on, and yeah, you averaging maybe an hour if you're lucky.
Hey, Chris,
per mile.
Next time you're down there, go up the Little Table Rock Trail.
Have gone up the Little Table Rock Trail.
That's another one where you're just high when you get to the top from hypoxia, just sucking it in and laughing, going unbelievably steep, and it never ends. And that gets us every time, because me and Hickory always seem to do it after breakfast. And the first time I was walking behind him, and he'd eaten a tin of clams for breakfast.
That sounds like Hicks.
And let me just say, when you're walking that incline, his derriere was about right where my face was. And, the clams and propelling him up that trail. And it was like nerve gas to me. And I
just follow the clams, right?
Follow the clam cloud. That's another really fun, steep, you lay there all night kind of dreading it. And then I've never gone down that one, only ever gone up it. But that's a good one.
See, now, I don't know about you, Shug, but I found now in my later years, uphill, I'm still doing fairly well. I can manage some pretty good uphill grades. It's that downhill's killing me.
Just the knee.
Downhill is killing
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I mean,
downhill's
my
destroying me.
hamstrings are going to hell on me, and my Achilles tendons are screaming. And yeah, I just cannot do downhill with a darn anymore. I throw gear. I've gotten where I've grabbed my pack, throw that sucker down the hill about 50 yards, and hike down to my pack, pick it up, and throw it another 50 yards. So, yeah.
I've been thinking when I go downhill now a little bit, as I've gotten older, I find myself holding myself back. And I have to remind myself to kind of relax my body and let myself go down a little faster than I think I can. And
Right.
to this
Let
flow.
gravity work for you.
It doesn't hurt my knees as much, but it's sort of a, that's why one of these days I'd like to through hike a trail so I could really experience, these techniques of walking. It's just like I've even changed my way of walking up hills, especially when I have straight, big uphills, locking out that back leg. I'd read that years ago in a book, don't pick your feet up so high. And it really works to lock that back leg out and don't fight it. And sometimes just keep your head down and don't look ahead. Don't keep looking up the trail because it's not done yet.
Yeah.
Just to the side looking for a can of Beanie Weenies somebody threw out.
Yeah. Yeah, please leave snacks along this trail.
Always find those in the Limble Gorge, man.
I hiked it. It's not bad. It's only about maybe 500-600 foot incline, but it's a real short one, 3/4 of a mile. And I hit that last summer, and right after I'd busted up my ankle, and somebody had hung nutty bars. You know what those are?
Yeah,
Little Debbie nutty bars.
Peanut butter.
Somebody had pinned them about every 100 yards up that trail. I was doing that. I'm looking at the ground, hiking up, not looking ahead, and I glanced up, and there's a nutty bar hanging from a tree on the trail, and I just like, oh my god, there we go. That's going to get me the rest of the way up that hill.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you there, Shug. So Mystic Bunny's never hammock camped and wants to try it this year. What's the best way to get into hammock gear?
Well, watch my hammock out.
Slope.
Put up with me. But all I'll say is this. When someone wants to get into a hammock, easiest thing, just get yourself a hammock. Mm-hmm. Cheap, expensive, whatever. Make one, tie a bed sheet up. Learn to hang that hammock correctly. Your suspension angle, how you lay in it. Get that down. The second thing I say is be patient with yourself, because it's going to take you, unless you're very intuitive with it, there's a lot of steps to it. It is complicated. Just really take your time and go with, learn it. It's really helpful to either research them on videos or go to a place like Hammock Forums or get that book, The Ultimate Hang, and just get the proper hang angles. But really just be patient, because, you got to deal with pads in the hammock or under quilts and sleeping bag. It's hard to zip into your sleeping bag in a hammock. You can do it, but you can use it as a top quilt. And then if you've never been a person to hang a tarp, you've only ever just put a tent rainfly on, you've got to master the art of pitching a tarp. And it is its own art. And so hammocks have a lot of modular pieces, which drive some people crazy. And there's been many a person on YouTube that go, "Sure, I'm very frustrated with this hammock thing, and I'm crying at night." I go, whoa. Hammocks should not stress you out. Just go back to your tent, sell your stuff. You don't have to
on the ground.
Just be on the ground, man. Just go camp and do what you want. If it's driving you crazy, don't. But my first thing would just get any hammock and learn to hang it. And there's a million tutorials on it, because every hammocker is an expert.
Yeah. So my recommendations are this. They're real simple. Shug's right. Any hammock will do, because you're never going to buy just one hammock.
No.
It is a slippery slope and a rabbit hole that you can and will fall down. Hammockforums.net is the go-to for Google. When you Google something about hammocks, Google goes out to hammockforums.net and then brings back your results. There's a plethora of YouTube videos on how to. You are watching the one that taught me everything I needed when I was a rookie. Watch Shug's video. He does a good job creating the information and the content, and it is a fun experience along the way. And as my buddy Dosey's already pointed out in the chat, go to a hang. Go see another hammock camper. You will not see a bunch of tent campers get together for a weekend camping trip just because they want to talk about their tents. You go to a hammock hang and you will spend all weekend talking about hammocks and knots and hardware and tarps, and you're probably going to wish you had a dictionary just to figure out all the funky words like whoopee slings and wasps and wraiths and Lord knows what else is coming out of our hammocking mouths. But
everybody wants you to succeed, right? Everybody there wants you to do well in it, and you'll find these hangs if you go to hammockforums.net, go under outings and group hangs or whatever that title of threads is, and you can find the ones in the Southeast. They have a Canada section now, and you can see where these people are getting together, and they will welcome you.
Yep. And you'll eat better, you'll sleep better, and if you have any kind of problems that you don't have a way to wrap your head around, they'll be more than happy to help you out.
And you may find out that it's not, that may be the perfect place to go. Nope, not for me. My wife's claustrophobic. She doesn't like getting in hammocks. Just not her thing. She felt like it swallowed her. So it's a great way to go find if it is for you or if it isn't for you. But it's worth getting a $30 hammock or make one out of bed sheets. And there's instructions on YouTube for that. And string it up and just see.
And I'll even throw out my expertise. If you've got a question, reach out to me if you want. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
We did one of these live streams, and Chris, Mr. Pickle, was actually my guest on the show, where we had a good discussion about winter hammock camping and things of that sort. And go back and check out the replay of that. There, you'll find it in my playlist for CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. But there was so much great information shared on that live stream that it's a worthwhile look back. Just wanted to say I'm going out on a limb here, Shug. I'm going to open up and I'm going to invite. I just put the link into this live stream or to the panel here. Maybe
here we go.
I might want to come up and ask a question of somebody on panel. I don't usually like to do this for obvious reasons, right, Sty?
Yeah.
But I'm going to take a chance and try to monitor. So we'll get people up here for, a question or two. And we do have a taker already, and you've already met her, I guess, through the chat. We got Kelly Camps. How you doing, Kelly?
Hi, Kelly.
Hey, good evening.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Shug.
Super. Doing good, Kelly Camps.
Good. It's really good to see you in person. I've watched many of your videos. It's actually been a while since I watched them, but you were the guy I learned from when I started hammock camping.
Cool.
So great information.
They get what they come for, because what I do, and then move on. And maybe you pop up somewhere, and it's sort of the nature of the beast, really.
Yeah. But I'm actually starting to revisit some ideas I have with some winter hammock camping, because right now I've been 3-season camping and got into hot tenting this year, and already I've decided that I'm interested in pairing the hammock with a hot tent, and wondering if you or any of the other guys have had some experience with hammock hot tents, because there's not a lot of them out there. I think there's more likelihood of them being in the US. I think most of them are in the US, not a lot in Canada. It seems they tend to be sil poly, all that kind of fabric, as opposed to canvas. There's very little canvas out there, and just what your thoughts are on them. And I'm considering making one, actually.
I've seen here in Minnesota, there's a couple of guys in Wisconsin that do have the canvas ones, and they rig their hammocks up in it to the side and their stove over here. where they can kind of reach down. I've seen the folks with the sill poly, which is a little, that stuff is so flammable. And
that's the concern. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless that, looking at everybody's like, my philosophy is people invite me in their hot tents. I don't want to go in because I don't want to go in and get warm and then them throw me out. It's like them coming in and going, come eat all my candy. And then halfway through, they throw me out. So I sort of stay out and stay acclimated, but that's my thing. But I'm a little, I watch them polk up and they got their little stove and it's kind of tiny and they really focus on their wood cutting. And I can see that that's really their groove, getting all that wood prepped up. And then they always cook better food because then they come in and show it. You smell sausage cooking and eggs. But I don't know. On hammock forums, I think there's a few people that have rigged up their sill poly tarps, but they seem to have a lot of gaps. So I don't know how efficient that stove is, but it seems those ones that are nice and canvas that really close up, those guys seem to get a pretty good thing going. There's a guy right on hammock forums right now, One Click, that just got one and was showing a lot of pictures. And I've seen this guy that goes around the country. I think his name is Dogger. Kind of got a wild beard. Not quite as good as yours, Scott, but he puts a lot of purple and red in it. And he just goes around to camp and he's got his own little world in there. And that's just, you might have fun with that.
Not tried it yourself though, eh?
I'm not, because I'm lazy. And I always wonder going, if I'm in there and I get real warm and that little fire goes out, that means I got to get up and put that wood in it. And I have to mix that with getting up to go into pee. And I don't know. It's just, I'm just basically too lazy to do it. I'll be honest. I'm not saying I won't someday. It might be something that will just appear to me, but so far I haven't been drawn to, but I love to go see everybody else's because they're all cooking eggs and sausage.
Shug, what
on their
one word you use that's dead on is being acclimated, because and I have that issue with hot tents, and I like hot tents if I got somebody that's going to shift with me loading the stove. Yeah, because I'm the same way. I don't want to get all warm and then get cold, and then get all warm and then get cold. That up and down. I'd rather be acclimated at a single temperature. So if I can keep that hot tent hot all the time, and I can guarantee I'm going to be nice and toasty all the time I'm there, fine. Then I can dress and go. It's like leaving the house to go out. But
I always felt I'd like it more on the ground for some reason, to kind of reach up to that stove. But it's a nice thing on a winter hang if someone has one, because if you have that one person that they get pretty enthusiastic to winter camp and they're not really prepared gear wise, and then you find out they're really not mentally, because they didn't think about their clothing system. They focus just on their sleeping, and you got a place to get them in there and kind of bail them out a little bit and at least get them warmed up.
You just want to you want to make sure that you match your skills to your gear and your abilities, and because if you're not getting enjoyment through the whole experience, well, then you're kind of messing it up, because you need to enjoy your time out there. And if you're feeling that you're hot and cold, or it's too much work, I spent 3 hours gathering wood to make it through the night. You really have to weigh all those factors. Now, talking about hammocks in a hot tent hammock, the first time I ever saw a hammock in a tent was in a Cabela's Outfitters 12 by 14, and there were 2 hammocks hanging in that tent, and they had taken their stove and actually put it center in the tent, and then the pipe went up over the top instead of off to the side. And I walked in there and I go, what the heck are you guys at? Here they got 2 hammocks hanging right down the center of that 14-foot tent, and they're just comfy as sin in there.
Well, 2 guys. Those people, I call them, the pyro people. I always tell people, I'll get this on YouTube. Shug never builds a fire. I go, I do.
I got somebody for that.
But I have friends that they're going to build a fire. And I go, I'll just film you. I'll just stay out of your way. But I know the people that have the hot tents, part of their joy seems to be the act of the fire and the stove and the prepping, and they don't seem to mind however many times to stoke it, because then they love to get up and tell all of us how warm they were. And I go, well, I was pretty warm too. But it's, it's kind of cool. I've never done it. I'm not saying I won't, but I think Kelly, you should try it if it's in you.
Well, I just started hot tenting this winter, so I've been enjoying that so far. But then after coming back from a weekend hot tenting experience this weekend, it was like I should have just got myself a hammock hot tent and just married the two together and been done with it, because I do love my hammock, no doubt about it. I mean, there's nothing more comfortable to me.
I think the people with the sill nylon, they have that really big stove jack, and then they got the pipe that goes way out from it seems to go way out from there, so they're not even getting a spark. And I guess the stove, they must, feel very confident with their stove that it's sealed up well and doesn't flame out. So, I think you should go for it. But I've seen them, and I will admit I'm just a little bitter because they look so comfortable and they're cooking those eggs in their little skillet.
Kelly, Kevin's giving you an invitation over there.
Kevin wants to take you hot tent. That's all right.
Okay, when I get it done, I'll invite you.
Okay.
So this question here could go out to Shug and to Chris. Dee's outside, thanks for sticking around with this here, because I know she's asked this question a couple times tonight, and I finally got a chance to get it up. Her question is, how do you handle condensation in the wintertime?
I don't get very much, mainly because I'm using underquilts, and I used to get, in the old days when I was using partial underquilts, I would put a pad under my feet outside of my top quilt or sleeping bag, and I'd have some dampness down there. But once I started putting the pad inside my top quilt, just a little Thermarest sit pad,
Kelly.
Really deflated. Yeah, bye, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
That knocked out all the condensation, but I don't get very much condensation in the winter. I get it around my face, of course, where your breath is. I kind of came up with this thing called a frost bib that hangs off my ridge line that mainly keeps that off my top quilt. And my balaclava catches a lot of it, but my body, I don't ever get very much. But I know some people that sleep on pads, depending on the way your body works through the night. Some people are like an oven. There's some people, I'm somebody that used to kind of get condensation on my pads. Other people don't. So I think you got to just try it to know. But I would always, if I used a closed cell foam pad, it would be a little damp.
Would you still, if you're using an underquilt in the wintertime, I still have to buy an underquilt, but if you're using an underquilt in the wintertime, would you still require you to put a Thermarest inside of your, no?
No. You mean a full length pad?
No.
Yeah.
Not if you got a good underquilt that's, rated for the temps. I always go, if it's going to be 10 degrees, I'll bring a 0 underquilt and have that little extra buffer. But
that Thermarest pad is it's a vapor barrier, so it's blocking your heat from getting to the underquilt,
right?
Which at that point is keeping the underquilt from doing its job.
And the comfort too, right? It's sort of, it's the comfort of that. Once I didn't trust underquilts for a while, and the first one I made, I was still using a pad with it and trying to inch my way into winter. And I finally just said, well, this thing's 20 degrees. And just ditched the pad, and I just didn't trust it. And I had it set up right, and I went, oh my. Now you can certainly do it if you've got a 20-degree underquilt and a good pad, and you want to get down to 0. You might want to do that kind of thing, but really, you don't need to if you've got a properly rated underquilt and you get it set up correctly with no gaps, so it's up against you. The underquilt, as Chris knows, is the most perplexing piece of gear that people get to, and they just, some people just struggle with it. And sometimes want to get in a plane and just fly there and help them.
Yep.
You need somebody to reach in there and kind of feel it. It's just a little tweak here or there, but kind of crazy.
And once you get it dialed in, don't adjust the straps.
Hey,
just leave it. Once it's dialed in, just leave it dialed in.
Sure. Chatter 72, how you doing? Welcome to the chat.
I had a question for Shug mostly. I was wondering how he picks his destinations, and is he ever going to come to California, where I am?
I do want to go do a lot of those California trails. I don't know which one, the Sierras or something. Everybody tells me I should do the John Muir, but PCT, one of them. I absolutely do, but I gotta plan it and really have the time in the right season. And as a performer, I have a weird time schedule, and sometimes summer and is my busy time and work wise, so I don't ever get to go places much. And then it's like, well, a lot of my destinations, I just go here in Minnesota because I can get in the car and just drive and go. And I'm sort of an impulsive backpacker. I always leave my gear out, see it every day when I go on my nut hut. And I might just look at my schedule and see I got 2 or 3 days open. I go and just tell my wife, honey, I'm going to go. I didn't realize we don't have anything going on, do we? I'm going to grab and go. And so
there's barbecue down here in the Carolinas.
Yeah. Kind of last minute trips, but with my buddy Hickory, we usually pick a destination, or like when I met Chris at the Yates Hang, but definitely want to get out to California sometime, and probably will in the next 5 years, as I planning on sort of tapering off my show schedule a little bit and open up my time to, I would like to have 8, 10, 12 days, 3 weeks or something to go out there and really spend some time. So it is in the plans. It's laying out there kind of loosely to get done.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the question there, Cheddar. Much appreciated.
Shug, are you located up in the northern region of Minnesota?
I'm in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Oh, okay. I was born and raised out on Minnetonka.
Yeah, a lot of people think I live up where I'm always open, and I hope to get myself a little place up there someday. And my wife keeps telling me, you can go up there,
Yeah.
Just go back down here to the cities and visit me. And I go, I'll do that. Just like I'd love to go up to Grand Marais. I love that area. And
yes. Love the Arrowhead.
I've been looking at land and little places back in the woods. Like, I don't care to see the lake. I want to be back in the forest, Yeah. I want to be
my pop worked when they put the Echo Trail in and the Gunflint Trail. He was basically a dynamite hauler.
Yeah.
He worked in the CC camps, and he was a sergeant, and we know Grand Marais real well. That's beautiful country. Beautiful country.
I'm hoping to go up to the Gunflint here in the next 2 weeks. I'm itching to get out on a trip, so I've been kind of looking for some places to go, and I've narrowing down a little place up there I might pop up to.
Yeah. Beautiful country. I live right across the lake. Ashland, Wisconsin, right on
Ashland. All right, yeah.
I'm 3 blocks from Lake Superior, from Chequamegon Bay.
All right, you are okay. So you're not a Canadian guy.
No, I'm that one odd U.S. guy that Dennis keeps bringing in here.
There you go.
But I tell you what, these Canadians,
he's my
make a U.S. guy jealous. They make us U.S. guys just jealous.
Bill C has posted this question a couple of times there that kind of got overlooked there. What's the best or the biggest mistake you made on your hammock camping?
Not insulating.
Yeah.
Most people think, well, it's going to be 68 degrees. I don't need a pad or an underquilt. And I go, you may not when you first lay down. About 2 a.m, you're going to be cold unless you're, there's that occasional guy that's just a super, like has an oven burning in them. But like those guys at the Yates Hangs that were sitting around in T-shirts and shorts in that weather. But most people are going to feel a chill on their back at some point, even in 70 degrees. And, it's just bring a pad or, put on a lot of people use those poncho liners underneath, or, bring something with you, because, even 75 degrees, it's like you go lay out in a hammock without a pad on an 80-degree day for a while and there's a little wind, you start to feel it underneath within an hour, like I'm definitely not as warm underneath as I am on top with that sun hitting me. So I think that's the biggest mistake. A lot of new hammockers, they fight that, and then they go out and freeze and they go, oh yeah, I do. And it's like, yeah, what do you think, Chris? I think that's the one I hear the most.
My coldest night in a hammock, the low was 72 degrees.
So you were You were out there just
Yeah.
doing it with nothing. Yeah.
Whoops. That's when I learned that underquilt or a pad was a requirement, and that was in the middle of July, August.
Yeah. It's a rare individual that cannot do it, but most people can do something.
My biggest or best mistake was when I put the whoopee sling on the toggle and not the knot, and had that long, slow, knowledgeable descent to the ground with 3 people watching me.
And then you go, God, I didn't have the camera running. That would have been a good one.
Yeah, you know what's happening. You just can't. Nothing you can do. It's not fast. It's just thud.
Yeah. Now I don't have anywhere near the hammock experience of these guys, but I made my first major hammock mistake last summer. I preached all the time. Pick your campsite. Watch for those dead falls.
Always look up. Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. You know, we've all been down that road and we've all preached it to others, right? I get to this remote campground and it's perfect. And I'm going, oh, wow. Check out those 2 hammock anchors right there. Awesome. And my hammock, I'm going to be able to lay in that bugger and look out over the lake every evening. This is awesome. I love it. I go over and throw that hammock up and I'm stomping down ferns that are in the way. I get my hammock all set up and I'm thrilled. Middle of the night, I decide I got to get up and pee, right? Well, the hammock's about 35 feet from the fire pit in camp. And I get out of that hammock in the middle of the night, step in a stinking gopher hole and broke my ankle. I was so busy looking up for all the overhead hazards and loving those 2 trees and that view to the point where I ignored the ground. What the heck was under me? And not just under the hammock, but within. I mean, you got to really look. You need a good 10, 15, 20-foot area that you know.
Right?
Get out of that
Site selection teaches you some hard lessons.
And the reason I messed up was I had turned around in that hammock and I'm hanging my legs off the side, right? And I'm just rocking for about 45 minutes or so. My legs fell asleep. You know, I'm pinching them off, you know, all that pressure right behind your knees. So when I got up, my feet were asleep. So I'm not even feeling the ground surface. And sure enough, stepped in a hole and the ankle rolled completely over. And I crawled all the way into camp, got it to the fire pit. And I said, well, let's start a fire and see if this ankle pops back in place. Got it to pop back. But I'm sitting there going, I don't want to sleep on the ground. I'm looking at that hammock like, oh, please come here. That's but yeah, I learned the hard way that, you know, just because you found the perfect trees, that doesn't mean that's the perfect place for that hammock. There's
a lot of talking to people about just camping or backpacking in general. You got to be willing to go out and make some doozy mistakes and gut up and learn from it and say, hey, man, it's one thing you talk about when it's story time.
You bet. Brush yourself off and get back out there.
My biggest mistake was not testing a tree one time or making sure it was firmly rooted. And through the night, the tree, I think I told you this story, Chris. Yeah, well, the one tree. Yep. And before you know it, my behind's touching my backpack, which I had underneath, right? And when I got up, that tree went from being 90 degree all the way over to like 45 degrees. So make sure your trees are firmly rooted.
Right.
Give it a good hug like Shug does. And one of them big
love your trees. Love your trees. Thank your trees after you've hung from your trees.
Yeah.
Yes. After you told that story, Dennis, then all of a sudden I realized there's so many times I've been out in the forest and not a single tree's leaning, just one. It's leaning over at about a 45. And first thing I think is Dennis was here.
Yeah.
There's your Dennis site right there.
Shug, you ever use the wool blanket in your hammock?
I have not. You know, you could. To me, it's sort of hard. I mean, if that's all you got, I've seen people try to rig them up on the outside, but you got to have it so it's snug up against you. Anything in the hammock has to be snug against you for warmth, or you're going to have a little gap where air gets in. And you know, if you laid it in the hammock, I think I know there's some people that do some everyday sleeping that do that at home, but to me, it would bunch up under me. You know, I think in my very first days, I might have had a polar fleece blanket and tried to lay on it. But by the time I got in and get situated, it was all kind of bunched up. I mean, I think it's doable if you're patient. Maybe somehow hook it to the side, to the inside of the hammock. It's better than nothing. But I have never. I do remember doing that polar fleece one, and just it drove me nuts because I couldn't get it to. You know, just think about it. It's laying in there. When you lay in, it's just kind of sliding and knotting up under me. So I was kind of throwing it over me a little bit like you would a top quilt. And I'm trying to be in a sleeping bag at the same time, and was just fighting all that. I mean, I tell people, try anything.
Yep.
Go for anything. It's better than nothing. And you might have great success with it. If they're asking, I don't know if they were actually asking sleeping in it or kind of just laying on it.
I would think probably just laying on it.
That's what I thought.
I've got my regular camping hammock is a Hennessy hammock, and I don't have an underquilt for it, so I use an underpad obviously when I go canoeing on my canoe trips and such. But the one thing I do have with my system, and I want to get your take on it. Have you ever heard of these things called snake skins?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you use snake skins, or are you just a stuffer?
I'm a stuffer. I use snake skins for my tarp.
Mm-hmm.
I use a black bishop bag, just one bag on one end, and I just stuff it in. And then that bag hangs there, and I usually put my steak bag and a couple of little bits in there. I might have a down jacket that I might stuff in there that I'm going to want later. I don't want it just flopping around in the hammock.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of hammocks now come with these double-ended stuff sacks. I don't like those as much. Can't get as much in them, but all right. So this hammock painting I did, that right there is a black bishop bag.
Yep.
And it hangs there. And then when I take my hammock down, I stuff it into that bag. But I got a little bit of room to put extra steak, a lot. Really, I put a lot of my stuff sacks in there. You know, I have my tarp stuff sack in there, stuff sack from a top quilt and bottom quilt. That's where all those go. Just that kind of crap that I'm not going to access a lot. But if I go, oh, I need one more steak, I know exactly where it is. It's right there.
Yeah, because I'm not sure with my hammock that I like the way the snake skin actually. I find it's harder to pack that way because you got to fold it then and try and put it in a stuff sack. So I'm probably going to lose that this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a Hennessy thing. I know Ed Hennessy or Tom Hennessy sort of came up with that as a way to enclose his hammock. And but for a tarp, it works real nice.
It's amazing for a tarp.
Yeah,
have your tarp up, but not out, and sort of have it out of the way. And I just find it easy to pack that way. But I talk to some people, go, I hate mesh snake skins for my tarp, and I always go, that's a strong word, hate.
Kevin Callan put a controversial question on the screen here, and this is almost like an inside joke. If you're not familiar with Kevin Callan, there, Shug, you should really check him out.
Oh, I'd definitely go for a double blade because I want all I can get.
All you can get. There you go, Kevin.
I really don't even know what that means, really.
Right now, you know what Kevin's doing?
Kevin's taking a 90-pound tent into the woods.
Is this a double one like a kayak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if I was in a canoe, I'd go canoe paddle.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want all the other Canadians laughing at me. But if I was in a kayak,
see his reasoning in it.
I do both. I do
if I was
both.
in a kayak, I'd go with this.
My solo paddles, kayak paddle, and when I'm doing tandem, of course, it's regular.
Yeah. Dennis is a bi-paddler.
Do they do that in a canoe?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay.
If you check out some of my videos, you'll see a couple of my canoe trips there. I've got the solo boat with the kayak paddle.
Oh,
you can really move.
I didn't even know.
Do you paddle on your knees, Dennis?
I do sometimes when I'm tandem paddling, but for the most part, I'll sit on my behind.
Dennis, do you find that double paddle to be effective in a canoe?
Oh, well, in my solo canoe, yes.
Okay.
Not in my not on my bigger canoe.
Well, I guess if it was solo, it does make sense. I guess I've never seen anybody do it in a canoe.
It's like it's a cross between almost like kayak paddling, right?
Yeah.
Like the boat, my particular boat is made for using tandem paddle.
Okay.
So, a kayak paddle.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't even know that. I thought there was this sort of code of ethics with canoeing.
You're bringing Kevin back into it with the code of ethics thing.
There's the old school, and then there's like, hey, dude, man, I got like a triple paddle.
Up here in Canada, the tandem paddle is becoming a thing, right? A lot of packers are using it. You've heard of like Joe Robinette and Sean James. A lot of these bigger YouTubers, they've built a lot of popularity based on that type of paddling, right? So, yeah, that's cool. Well, you know what, gentlemen, we're at that 9 o'clock hour here in Canada. Anyways, there, Shug, you're an hour behind, right?
An hour behind, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to draw this show to a close. If you gentlemen will stick around for a few minutes in the green room, I'd love to have a little chat with you afterwards. And we're going to close things up if I can find my notepad here. You know what, Shug, this has been awesome.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
It's been a really good show. Thank you very much to everybody that's popped in to the live stream. I see we got one more person in the green room. You want to take one more question, Shug?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's bring Eric up onto the screen for a quick question there.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Eric.
How you doing?
Eric.
Not sure he's hearing us.
Are you out? Eric, are you outside?
Hello. It's a little late.
Sorry, you're a little muffled there. You might have to get a little closer to your mic.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely.
Sound like you're underwater.
Barely.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Kind of sound a little bit like that.
Yeah, not sure it's going to work, Eric. I'm sorry. Got a bad connection going there.
1 second.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Okay, sorry about that, gents.
Okay, no, that's good.
It was worth a shot. Anyways, let's see here. Closing statements. Where are we here? See that this whole notepad just went to the wayside tonight, and I had a feeling it would.
Yeah.
I had like 10 questions on there I was going to ask, but I think they all got covered pretty much anyways.
I tend to just kind of answer them in between my answers for the stuff I'm answering, but then I answer some extra things other than what was asked me.
Yeah. Oh, well, you did a great job. Anyways, to anybody that's in the chat that's not familiar with Shug, and I doubt that's the case, please make sure you do check out his YouTube channel and his website. I have the links in the description below, so you can actually check that out, get more information. Also on the Shug side, we're as the entertainer, not so much the hammock camper. Let's see here. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to his channel, as well as checking out the other fellas here that are on screen with me. They got some great content on their sites as well. And if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button for Canoe Hound's Outdoor Adventure Show or Canoe Hound Adventures, and hit the bell notification so you'll know what's going on in the future. Just wanted to announce next week's show guest is Brad Jennings from the popular YouTube channel Explore the Backcountry. Brad's a very interesting fellow there. He's a canoe tripper, a cyclist. He does an awful lot, and he's got a great YouTube channel going and a great following going there as well. So be sure to check us out next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you'll see the posts on Facebook and here on YouTube. Like to thank you guys for joining the panel tonight, Chris and Sty. Much appreciated. Chris is one of my go-to guys, Shug, when it comes to hammock camping. We met there a while back, and he's a great wealth of knowledge as well. So thanks very much for that.
I had no idea, Chris. I just know we met down there in North Carolina and ended up hitting the trail and
met up in the woods, hit the trail.
That's all right.
And Dennis,
yes.
Thank you for doing the work, putting this together, and you were really your emails to me and all the info you gave me was easy, and you stayed in touch and you made it clear, and you bring a lot of joy to people I see that like to come in and chat, and So kudos to you for doing the work to put these things together.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a lot of fun, and I get to meet, obviously, a lot of interesting people, and that's why I enjoy doing this. It's a good time, and it brings together a community that really can use this. I've had a lot of compliments as far as the fact that it's bringing together a community of outdoors people. Right?
You know what I like meeting people in person because they always come up to me and go, "You're taller than I thought you'd be." I go, "I look that big on when you're looking at me on a screen."
Yeah,
It wasn't exactly what my question was, but
You're so tall. Go ahead.
You know what?
It's not that tall.
I'm going to let you close the show tonight in a minute, Shug, because, yeah. But anyways, let me just finish these announcements. What do we got here? Yeah, thanks to you guys on panel. Shug, of course, thank you. That was awesome that you did. Don't forget to check us out, Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show on Facebook, and that's where you're going to get most of the details for upcoming stuff. I always like to close the show by saying, I'm Dennis, Canoe Hound Adventures. Keep the adventures alive. But Shug, take it away.
I like to say, all secure in Sector 7.
woo, buddy.
Yeah, baby, I got me a Woo buddy on my channel. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Have a great night, and guys, stick around. Cheers.
I threw my shoulder out.
Woo buddy.
Woo, buddy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's great. Oh, and Dennis throws himself down. He'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Ugh.
hey, just left.
Once he realizes which button he shouldn't have pushed.
I closed myself out. I got all
I
excited.
know.
I got a Woo buddy.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Got a head rush on that.
It's still showing your live, Dennis.
Yeah.